Yeah, welcome back to Shotgun the Orcs podcast. You're joined by your host Tom solo today. Aidan and Jake are still alive and well, I can assure you, but they're unable to make today. But more importantly, we've got a very, very important guest on the show today who needs no introduction. If you're a fan of UK hip hop, you'll know him by a few names. Jason Bonez, Oscar the Slouch. It's Ramson BadBonez. How you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
What's up, bro? I'm good, man. You're right, yeah? Took a minute.
Yeah, man. I was saying, like, we tried to make this thing happen before, COVID was even in the zeitgeist in person, didn't we? Like, but for whatever reason, we had to rearrange. But it's good that we finally made it happen, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Safe, man. Respect, bro.
So, I know this is like kind of a repeat of the conversation we had before we started recording, man. But I mean, obviously, this year, 2020, we're into a new year now. Let's hope it gets a little bit better. But I don't really want to kind of gloss over the fact that last year happened and you dropped Death Mask through High Focus, and all the fuckery that went on with COVID, you didn't necessarily have like much of an opportunity to kind of like perform live and all of these things that you would do. So I really don't want to gloss over Death Mask because it was a really kind of really sick record. But more recently, before we go back to that, because I really kind of want to deep dive into it a bit, you dropped the project Love Music, the EP, late last year. Again, you had a lot of kind of really high concept stuff over some instrumentals that I wasn't expecting, like especially like the opening track and the video for like Mr. White as well. You talked about a lot of very kind of like significant topics going on at the moment, man. So what was kind of the process behind that particular project? Because it came out of nowhere.
Bro, like I said, bro, I did that a few years ago, you know? And process, man. It's kind of it's a little bit hard to remember because we're going back, but we're going like 4, maybe 5 years ago. I did it. Originally, it was meant to be an album. Originally, I think we did about 25 songs and got it down to, I think, 12. And then I was listening to them, and then I don't know, it just hit me. There's certain ones I was like, nah, take them off. And then when I had that 6, I was like, yeah, that's the thing. That's the project. So there's a whole load of stuff there that didn't get used as well.
But that's mad though, how it's still everything on it. I mean, like a lot of your content, a lot of your lyrics are still very like they're always relevant, So it wouldn't matter when you were to drop it. I think it's obviously compounded by 2020 and everything that happened and stuff. So a lot of the kind of the messages and a lot of the things that you're rapping about are still very, still very relevant. So did you kind of was there a time where you were like, oh, I'm not even going to release that, or were you always waiting for the right time? Because 5 years is a long time,
man. No, I don't think I was waiting for the right time. It's just, I don't know, man. When man got like so many projects there, certain things are gonna get not forgot about, but certain things might get put to the side for me, because there was other stuff coming out, and no, I wasn't waiting for the right time, man. It just come like that, and the concept, shit, man. That happens sometimes, isn't it? Certain stuff I listen to, I'm like, oh shit, that's still relevant now. Like I was bumping Public Enemy Fear for Black Planet ages ago, and I hadn't heard it since fucking ages, like years. Listened to it, I was like, shit, it's all still relevant.
Yeah, man, that's true. I suppose like
Because they were
music is
I think when you speak from the heart, will always be relevant.
it's timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's actually a really, really good point. It's just kind of like good music it should be timeless. A lot of people focus too much on, oh, is it relevant, or is it popping? Is it kind of pandering to something that's in the zeitgeist or new and it's shovelware? Do you know what I mean? But I think timeless records you can stick on, and I think that's like you've paid homage to quite a lot of like your favorite records and stuff. And on Instagram, I know recently you've posted quite a lot of like seminal albums to you. I think you had like just the Roots. There's been like Eminem. There's been loads and loads of different artists that you've kind of been influenced by over the years, man. I think that's really good that you pay homage to that as well. Because, you know, you get a lot of people who come and be like, nah, I'll do my thing. My style, I came up with it myself. Do you know what I mean? It's cool that you just
Yeah,
kind of...
it's like, nah, bro. I took a piece of a lot of people, man. And I grew up in that generation where paying homage, that's standard. That wasn't even, you didn't need to be asked. No, you did it because, you know, fuck. Sorry, bro. It's mad people living. But yeah, man, it's a standard thing, bro. But now, obviously, it's different. Everyone's trying to, one wants to claim something, isn't it? And what they don't realize is when it comes to that, this thing called hip hop culture, it's not really about claiming nothing. It's more about giving. It's like, what have you given? You know, them albums that I put up, they all gave their piece, you know, in their own unique way. Growing up in the 80s, my parents were like, they were young, so they used to party, and we'd all hear all the funk, you know, Robert Troutman, Zach, Rick James, the Marvin Gaye shit, all that 70s, 80s shit. And that was like the precursor for when, I don't know, when I first heard Slick Rick, you know, in the late 80s. And I was born in 83. So I started hearing hip hop around, say, 80, 88, 89 was the earliest I can remember. And then obviously went into the 90s. And then by the time it was like, I'd say, what, 94, that was when I started writing. And I was probably about 11, you know. So what got me into it wasn't the thing that got me writing. One of the first things that made me start writing properly and taking it seriously was a lot of different people, but one of the main people. A lot of people forget about him, Busta Rhymes. The first two albums, heard them when I was young. That was what kind of like the blueprint, you know. That was what I was basing. All right, Redman, Muddy Waters, you know. There was a lot of them, but there's certain ones I'm like, comes to pen, it was them ones.
Yeah.
Helter Skelter, Nocturnal, you know. Just deciphering it. I was just sitting there trying to figure out how are these men doing this? Like how? And I can hear it, but I'm more like, my mind's more trying to figure out how man's doing it. You know what I mean? As opposed to, hey, I hear it, but no, how's man doing it? It just came down to basic. For me, it was just maths, but a different kind of maths.
Yeah.
Mathematics of syllables.
Kind of like how Rakim describes it, you know, having, you know, the kind of methods. But I guess it's subjective to how like your brain works and things like that as well. Like, what was your way of figuring it out?
I think it was something that was just always probably there in me anyway. And me hearing that stuff is just me responding to it.
That's sick, man. I think with Buster and Redman and people like that as well, it's like they got such kind of distinct personalities. Like aside from like the bars and the wordplay, it's their personalities as well really kind of stood them out. You know, so I can understand why. Like, I mean, I love Redman, I love Busta Rhymes. I can understand why anyone would gravitate towards them. Imagine like back in the day as well, like being a kid seeing that. I mean, I'm in my early 30s, so I still like remember when Busta Rhymes on, you know, all the kind of like commercial music channels and all that kind of stuff. But before that, like the first couple of albums, just like absolutely untouchable. But have you heard his? Did you hear his album that came out like 2020?
Oh, right, I've heard it, man. Out of the blueprint, I've been too busy. So I'll switch off from a lot of stuff a lot of the time. Man. I'm just doing my own thing, innit? And then feel like it. At whatever point, I'll be like, you gotta check that out. Because I know man was telling me about that, but I'm so in the shit, man. I don't really listen to music like back in the day, like them times when just go to like, I remember there was this CD bar in
Mhm.
Seven Sisters, and when I was young, I used to work at this was it yeah, it was about 96, 97, like 12, 13. I was working at this t-shirt pressing plant, bro. Like, bro, that was some hard labor, bro. I was getting paid shit money, but I was happy and take that was a lot of money when you're that young, you know? Little
Mhm.
20 quid. I used to just go and buy CDs. All them sick albums. This is before enough people knew about it, you know? Because back them times, like, no one knew in it if you played it. It's like only certain man knew would gravitate. Nah, everyone's into hip hop. But back then it was like most people weren't feeling it. But that's what made me gravitate to it more, bro, to be honest. The fact that other
Yeah.
people didn't get it, I was like, holy shit. No, this is something special then. Only
More.
certain people get it. It's only made for the people that get it.
That's
Made
true,
for the people.
man. And little like Easter eggs and like skits and stuff and like stuff that you would only have heard back then because you had physical media. You had the CD and you had to invest, like you had to save up and buy it and then listen to it. So if you knew it, that's the only way how. Do you know what I mean? Unless you like bootlegged it. But it's yeah, it's crazy, man. Fucking hell. But yeah, Buster and Redman are just like, yeah. I think I saw Redman and Method Man play a few years ago in Brixton. It was like 10 years since I'd seen them perform there last time. I think it might have been Kentish Town, like the time before. And like Redman just hadn't aged because he's got like the Hollywood makeover, like the teeth, and he's just like, but Redman has aged, man. It was just like he's just trying to keep up with him and shit. I was just like,
Yeah,
fair play, man. But yeah, those two are just like a match made in heaven. Do you know what I mean?
like that, man.
Yeah, but getting back to kind of your stuff, Ramson. So the Death Mask LP that dropped on High Focus early in 2020, all produced by Mark Fear. So you took off the hockey mask, replaced it with the Egyptian death mask. Um, you addressed so many heavy topics on this record. Um, so the perceived modern day beauty standards in Skin Deep, Sarcophagus being kind of the first single I believe you dropped from that project. Very very potent in its message, and how I interpreted it was it's kind of about almost kind of grief thieves and people not getting their flowers until they're gone, and then everyone claiming that they paying homage, but it's kind of insincere. Um, that's just how I interpreted it anyway. But what inspired you to tackle this particular topic? Had you just had enough of seeing it? Because it's pretty apparent.
In a way, yeah, that was part of it, yeah. Because you see it all the time, innit? Every so often, innit? You know,
Hmm.
happens, innit? And then I see this pattern, innit? For years. This consistent pattern of that shit. And I'm like, yeah, it's a simple thing, innit? It's just give people their flowers when they can smell them, and trees when they can inhale them. You know,
Yeah,
not
man.
in man's dead. It's easy. Do you know what I think part of it is though? The reason why people do that is it's gonna sound um odd, but when you think about it, it makes sense. Yeah,
Hmm.
you can say that shit because person who's dead ain't a threat no more.
Hmm.
Artistically, you get what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Because
But you
if
you
they
use
was
that
really
bar in it,
thinking
don't
like
you?
that, they would have said it when they was dead. But
You
I'm
use
doing
that bar, man. Like
it's like,
no
yeah, because
longer
it's not man ain't a threat no more. So now you're comfortable.
no longer the opposition under the earth spirit dispersed. So like yeah, implying that your peers, say if it was like in the rap game, they won't acknowledge you until you're like physically not even a threat anymore. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of a backhanded. I don't know. I know what you're saying, man. It's
It's a mad psychology, man. Humans are crazy creatures.
that's true,
Why
man.
that's why like you get stuff like this going on. It's mad, bro. You know, part of it's deep, but part of it ain't deep. You know what I mean? Part of it's just I was just pissed off.
You do get that though, like even just on the kind of a real kind of shallow level. on social media. You get like a celebrity passes away, and you just have like an influx of tributes and posts and stuff of just people who, come on, man, like don't tell me that you were like fucking watching this or listening to them. Like, it's just be real. You don't need to kind of, don't be a grief thief. But I mean, it's their prerogative if that's what they want to do to make them for validation or fit in or like whatever. That's fine. It's up to you. But it's really transparent. But yeah, man, I think that the video that went along with it was really sick as well. Because this is that media, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's good video, man.
The bit where like someone's googling like, was Nate Dogg a singer? It's just like,
yeah, people say shit, man.
oh, amazing, man. But I mean, like for someone as kind of lyrically complex as you are, it doesn't come as a surprise to. I've heard you being described in the past as a rapper's rapper, and this sentiment was backed up basically earlier this summer, last summer rather, when I interviewed God Status, and Kashmir said he thinks that you're one of the only rappers that will never run out of something to say. Coming from him, that's quite an accolade, man. So like, how do you feel about that kind of that statement?
Man, Cashmere's my guy, bro. You know what I mean? From day one. I remember when I first met him. It was, up Cheston Farmer's house back in the day, and I think Farmer. When I was young, I was probably like 16. These times I was on the block about. Them not called me up. I was sitting there. I didn't even know rap, bro. They put on a beat. I'm not spatting and he spat. I was just like, I was just feeling like, went home and it just made me want to be more sharp. He's one of the only people that ever did that. Very few people that done that, but he's one of them. So that coming from him, yeah, that's love right there, man. That's a big thing. Shout out to God Stats, Joker Star, Cash, love their shit.
Yeah, man, it's crazy psychedelic, isn't it? It's just like got that unique sounds.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I liked. It didn't sound like nothing else. And Kashmir was the reason I did Silver Surfer. Because when I heard Galactus, it just made sense, innit? I was like, you know what, I'm gonna carry on the thing, innit? You know,
yeah,
but it wouldn't happen if it weren't for him.
That's thick, man. You mentioned that he was one out of a very small few. Who are other people who, as a wordsmith, have kind of motivated you to up your pain game?
Do you remember a group called 12 Stone?
No.
Don't
12 Stone.
That. Yeah, they're from East London.
Blind spot for me,
from
man.
The 90s.
Yeah? Okay.
There was a guy called Culture.
Oh, I've heard of Culture. Yeah.
When I met him, I was really young, at 14, because one of the guys that made beats for them lived across the road from where we did. And when I first heard him, same thing. Because you hear a lot of people, and it has a different effect. But not everything makes one go, oh, shit, I need to go back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I think that's like, as you say, there are different things, and people like and appreciate different artists for different reasons, whether it be like lyrical content, a technical ability, or just even like a vibe that they give off, an energy that they radiate. But to actually have someone, make you, freeze in your tracks and be like, fuck, I need to actually like work on this or like improve and better myself.
I like, bro. I'm like, yeah. There's only certain ones that you go, oh shit. Oh shit. I'm thinking that, oh shit. Right, yeah, it's drawing board time.
Oh man, that's cool.
That's all needed though. That should be what it's like all the fucking time. Because that's how you bring the best out of each other.
Exactly, man. Do you think that there's an element of that missing in UK hip hop? Kind of a bit authentically.
That kind of healthy competition kind of thing.
Yeah, and actually acknowledging it as well, rather than like being passive and just like, oh yeah, that guy's fucking dope. I'm gonna ignore that he exists. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like that for But as long as I can remember, to be honest, it's just got worse over time.
Yeah, man, and it's sad because I mean, I'm not an artist. I'm a fan, and that's why like having these chats, it's like I'm impartial from like a business perspective, from like a an artist perspective. I just appreciate good hip hop, so it's hard. It's hard kind of wrestling with that idea, but it's kind of surely it would make more sense for people to acknowledge them to build the scene up because then you get more exposure, more kind of money gets pumped into it because that's what happens when things are marketed properly. Do you know what I mean? And it just elevates the scene generally. It is ultimately like it's all for like love initially, but it's people's livelihoods as well. You know what I mean? It is a business for a lot of people, and the more it's treated as kind of it needs to be treated as such. So it is kind of a shame in that way. But I guess that's just, I don't know whether it's like a British sensibility or something. Um, Not as direct, more passive
You
than
know
like
what?
Americans. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what it
I
is.
know. I mean, figuring out. Yeah, I try not to think about the reasons why these motherfuckers are there. Because I'm never gonna know. The only way I'm gonna really know is if I ask them and they're honest enough to give me a straight answer.
That's true,
So I
man.
don't think they're gonna do. You know, it's just gonna
Yeah.
be something else. So I'm like, if that's the situation man's put in, I'm like, let the music speak for itself. Because no matter how much man are in denial, if if you're creating art, that is inspiring people or
Hmm.
make someone that's insecure feel like you're pulling rank on them or something, then that's the way to do it, man. Let the music speak, man. People can carry on like that what they want, man. But they don't realize certain people, the reasons why man make music was never because of that in the first place. Anyway, yeah. You said a key thing there, like people don't realize that certain people without it, you know, their options would be A and B, you know, as opposed to A, B, C.
Yeah.
Mm. So that's probably the biggest part of it, but it's all part of it, man. Can't change what other people do. I
Yeah,
know.
that's true, man. Because I know I read like something else like you talked about that resonated on Instagram about from kind of a business perspective, like people kind of taking the piss when it comes to paying for like your services as an artist. You know what I mean? And it's just like that's something else that keeps it down. It's kind of like these.
That's rife. That's not even exclusive to me.
No,
That's
no,
why I
no.
said
This is what I
yeah,
mean, man.
it's like other people that go through the same shit. Like it's not just me. There's many artists that get approached like that, and if you're of a certain caliber, a certain reputation, it's just like yeah, it's a bit insulting, but
Yeah.
it's just you got to know how to deal with it, bro.
Mm.
I kind of just stick to the point and be direct about business side, and that's what I mean about what I said in the thing. Forced me to bring up things when I shouldn't have to bring it up.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then they feel awkward, and it's this cat and mouse thing, innit? I'm not chasing man for anything. You come to me, so you need to come correct, innit? Or just let me get on with what I'm doing. And
I know, man. That's it. I think it's just like that mentality just needs to, and it's just, I just don't get it. Do you know what
it's
I
gonna
mean? It's
be
just like
like,
it's the audacity of reaching out to your like favorite rapper, and then being surprised when they ask for money because
mm,
it's their livelihoods, and you're like, what? It's like, no, man. Like, no, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, yeah, no, that's it just made me laugh out loud when I read it. I was just like, what? It's just, but
someone
same
was
for me
saying
to
to me,
share it though. Do you know what I mean? Like to share the reality of things that all these things happening behind the scenes. You can just imagine. Do you know what I mean?
well, like I said, you don't want to see my DMs, but it'd be laughing. You just be like, raw for real. This is how people go on. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I don't even reply, man. I just see the first. No, you can see the first few words because I've seen it so many times. I kind of know the pattern.
Hmm.
So yeah, all right.
Yeah, there's just common like
There's always
etiquette,
gonna
isn't
be.
there?
Oh, that's why I got to know how to navigate.
Yeah,
Uh,
I guess as well. It's like behavioural patterns like that from people. Again, if you don't call it out, they just don't know, do they? It's like you realise you're, yeah,
You know, they're just playing dumb. Like, no, but sometimes I don't. A lot of stuff I don't even call that because sometimes all you gotta do is give people like that coding. Eventually, a bone will fly out their mouth and they'll fuck off. But there's certain times where you gotta address it. It just depends in it how it is, what kind of situation it is.
exactly, man.
But yeah, man, it's part of it, innit, man. Everyone's always trying to get something.
Yeah, man. But going back to like the music, so we spoke about with Death Mask and kind of the kind of personas that you have in your various projects. Does that allow you to, when you go into like the persona of say like Jason Bonez or like Oscar the Slouch, does it allow you to kind of open up your like the parameters of what you rap about, going into someone else's perspective, or is it kind of you just through kind of a different persona? What's kind of the thought process behind the alter ego?
All of them are slightly different, man. Like Oscar the Slouch was, it's about me, but it's in the vein of a character, because I wanted to make it more challenging to write, which will make it more interesting for the listener.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Because if it's not challenging or interesting for me, it's going to reflect on the other end. So yeah, that was all about my own personal experience and the music that I picked. I purposely did it. Obviously, yeah, I was doing it with Charlie Mack. But I could have did it with anyone, but I wanted to do it with him because of obviously he's a sick producer, man. But it's the sonics, it was the sound. It was like, because of what I was talking about, it was like some reality shit, some raw, fucked up shit on that album. But because of the scope of music, when man listen to it, the way it's going in, it's not the same way as if it was some dark, gritty bullshit. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just need to make it different. And obviously every track was a month. So I had to make sure that the beat, before I even written anything, I made sure the beats were like, that sounds like that one. That sounds like that one. That sounds like that. So the process for that was completely different to what Jason Bonez or Might Day the 13th. Now, Jason Bonez was just the introduction to the character. Might Day the 13th was his perspective on the music scene.
Mm-hmm.
Hence Weirdos, what else is there? Face Down Floating, but
Is the witch is pregnant on that one, or is that on I can't remember if that was
that's Jason Bonez.
Jason Bonez, yeah, man, that was my shit. That beat is crazy.
Yeah.
Such a unorthodox tune. I love it.
There's Mark Fear Beats as well, that beat. The guy with Death Mask. But yeah, that Might Day 13th, the process for that. Obviously, yeah, it was completely different from Oscar Slouch, you get what I'm saying? Because it was a different album. So it has to be a different approach. But the hockey mask thing and the character, that was used as the theme. Same way Oscar the Slouch, the character was the theme to talk about a real life experience, where Jason Bonez was the theme to talk about. So if I was talking about the music scene, how I felt about it at the time, without that theme,
it's like a framing device.
Different, bro. It needed to have a frame, to fit in, that would carry it well, as opposed to just rapping about the shit and sounding like, I don't know, like you're bitching or something.
No, I hear that, man. I think it's just, it's it helps to kind of give context, and it's more like universal if you apply. I mean, like Jason Bonez as a character, for example, is like are you into? I take it you're into your slasher films and your horror and stuff, because you got like Tales from the Staircase and all of that stuff, and there's always been that like horror element in your music, regardless. Have you got a favorite? Have you got a favorite like slasher franchise? It's got to be Friday the 13th, right?
I don't know, man. Do you know what? Yeah, it's crazy, man. Because horror films, like, there used to be ones that would make you scared, but now it's all this just gore shit. Yeah, but like the only ones that really made me scared was Candyman,
Candyman.
and that wasn't
Yeah,
really. I mean, it was, but it was
Tony
more.
Todd, isn't it? Yeah, I haven't seen that in ages, man.
That was scary shit because it was set in the projects, innit? It was so it was relatable, and it was like fuck. And when I see him, I'm like, he looks like someone that probably would have come round to my mum's when he was little. You know, the ones like, and when you see him, his face, innit? It's like, he not want to fuck with it. These massive, massive guys. Well, so and that whole the story behind how he became him.
Yeah, man. He's
The whole State Master thing, and
yeah.
It's happened in history many times to people. So it had certain things that resonated strong. I was like, rah, man. And like that, what's it? It the Clown. That scared me when I was a kid. But horror movies, to be honest, bro, I just find them funny, you know. And it's not even meant to be, but it's just maybe it's just my sense of humor, bro.
Oh mate, I'm well into horror, like, but the slasher like kind of genre particularly, it's kind of made in a tongue-in-cheek way. Like, I think in the 80s they just made it as cheap as possible. Like, they made, like, you've got like the ones with the bigger budget, like, you know, like the first Halloween movie. Yeah, exactly. And then all these
plot. Bro, like
the best
fact, like they be running. Like, it's just shit like that made me laugh. Like, when I see Freddy, I couldn't stop laughing at that shit because it just reminded me of my dad. No word of a lie. Like, his mannerisms, even the shape of him, the little things he used to say, it's like, that's my pops, bro. So I've got a certain relationship with films, did it? I just think it's hilarious, man.
Oh man, that's the thing though. With like with Freddy, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, and like Halloween, at least there was like some kind of like consistency. But when you had like Friday the 13th, all like the rules just went out the window. It's like the writers didn't speak to each other. But the
you
final,
know, it's like that, but they were all on coke because that's the only way. A lot of them films back then, I'm like, there's not only one way, but there's one way I know that's consistent. One thing I know, you know what I mean, with people getting stupid ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's drugs, man. Come on.
They do it and they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. It's like, nah, you have to be bro. You know what I mean? Like, your head was not, you weren't sober. Not when you did it, you agreed to make it into something and push it. Like, you somewhere
I don't know,
else.
a bit of both, I think, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
but yeah, man, I think like even when it comes to like dialogue and everything in 80s movies, it's just like you watch it and just think like, what the fuck? The editing, just it's all so like you just think like, what the fuck?
That's what I'm saying. It's cold. I'm telling you, must because everyone was on it, man. Back then,
man.
Still are now, but back then, fucking hell, bro. Shit.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, the year in a life stuff, obviously, like as you said, it's kind of autobiographical. It's about you, but it's through like the framing device of the character. I mean, that's like I consider it a seminal like UK hip hop record. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of like not even going to front. That's kind of my gateway to your music, and I've listened and gone back to it. But there's kind of a disturbing juxtaposition between like the horror aspects of it and like the real life horror. So the Friday the 13th stuff that you had on previous projects, or sorry, later projects, and then that it's just kind of a even more disturbing because it's real. So did you know you were sitting on such an influential record before you released it with A Year in a Life?
I knew it was a good record, but I didn't know that it would do what it did. I didn't realize it would be as influential as it was. I knew it was a special record, though. You know, no, I didn't know it was gonna do that, man. It's gonna do that.
Yeah, man. I mean, like from a high focus perspective, you obviously said that you've got a lot of you're sitting on a lot of music and you're always working. So I'm guessing that there's kind of like, you're contracted to release a certain amount of records through them, and there's like a queue presumably. So
Not
as
really. I'm
is
not
there
really
not?
confident on anything like that. If I want to release something, that's when that comes up. All that kind
Oh,
of stuff.
okay.
I'm not really contracted or anything like that. But there is that whole thing of they have their schedule, innit? They have their thing of what they're doing, and when that time comes, we just try and work it out and work out schedules, work with each other's schedules. Sorry, because everyone's got their own shit, and I might want to put something out at a time, but might not be able to, and it might have something else. But that's why
Yeah,
it's
man.
good to have other labels and other avenues to do stuff.
Definitely,
Don't
man.
limit yourself, innit?
Yeah, exactly. Is
More
that kind
ten-
of like, sorry, man. I was going to say, is that kind of like, because obviously High Focus are, one of the more kind of prominent labels in the UK, like in terms of like audience, like they've got quite of a big audience base and following, etc. Are you kind of conscious of the music that you choose to put out with High Focus versus other? Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of, I want this album to be heard by more people, or like, oh, this would be good for them to put out, or is it just kind of, oh, I've got this and Sue wants it?
Yeah, no, I don't even think like that, man. I just put the stuff out, and however it comes out, it comes out. And
Nah,
I
fair
think
one, man.
if people, I mean, yeah, they probably got a bigger reach, some people, but the way I see it, if people are really fans of man's music, it don't matter what it comes out through, because you're supposed to be checking for the artist, not just for the label.
Couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more, and I think that's
No disrespect to them, obviously.
no.
Take them our focus at all. You know,
I
it's
think
just
the
if you
way I
listen to music, innit, you listen to an artist. It's like, no, say I don't know, say Ghostface puts out something, and it's on a different label from what he was previously dealing with. That ain't gonna stop me from checking it.
nah, of course not, man.
You know what I mean? It's not gonna stop me from checking anything.
No, I guess what my point was is that as they've got like the bigger reach, it's kind of like now, you know you're recognised as a sick UK hip hop artist, a sick hip hop artist in general. So people know who you are, and they're gonna like search for your music because they've heard of you through a High Focus release. Do you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like they've got the kind of the audience that someone who may have not heard you before now knows about you and will check you going forward. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, but yeah, going forward, I see what you mean. It's like if they know, and they should actually seek you out now that they have no excuse not to. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of an interesting concept, really, because I think putting a positive spin on, not, I mean, High Focus are doing great things. It's it's almost like a gateway to a lot of people into UK hip hop. It's like, if you know what I mean, like in other countries as well. It's a
Yeah,
label people look at and they're like, oh, they're doing bits. And if you're actually like-minded, or you're really into the music, you'll seek out, oh, okay, UK are doing good things. You won't limit yourself to one label. You'll look at, oh, what this guy's doing, and you'll go down a rabbit hole. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as a hip hop fan, like you geek out,
that's
don't you? You're just, that's it.
just music in general. I do
Yeah,
that shit all the time, and that's when you find
the
the
gold.
gem.
Yeah, man.
I remember that's what I was saying about in the 90s, innit? That CD bar. I come from a generation where man started to carry around records and shit, man. DJ had to carry that shit, bro. That was it was harsh, but glad I come from that, bro, because that was developed that real appreciation of music, bro. It's part of. It's not just something man do. It's part of identity forever now.
hmm
Like, energy's like. Always thought this. You see, with you, see, they say your energy becomes whatever you're around, innit? That's
Mm.
because we're all sharing it with each other. So if I'm around you a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, end up sharing each other's energy, bro. That's why you see people start talking like each other, using the same words. We share energy. It's the same shit with music, bro. Just sharing the energy with it, and that energy becomes yours. You know what I mean? Come it. You know, it's so much more than just the surface level of it. You know, there's other stuff going on people don't realize. You know.
Oh man! Speaking of good energy, I saw that you and my Stiggy are cooking something up. Come on, man! We've got something to look forward to. He's such a legend, that guy.
Yeah, nah, Maestro, boy. Come on, man. Yeah, yeah, man.
So what have you guys got cooking, man? Is that just a one-off thing, or
it's gonna be a full project? But it's in the early stages, isn't it?
yeah, man. I was excited when I saw that. Oh man, but like obviously, like having the kind of like I'll say clout that you do. Obviously, you're well known, well respected in like the UK scene. Is there kind of like a like my Stiggy obviously as well is just one of those guys, you know, that he's just hip hop through and through. Like you meet him and he just kind of radiates that like that kind of energy. You know, he just lives the life. Um, are you open to work with like anyone, or is it like do you have to kind of get that kind of what you spoke about earlier when energy is reciprocated? Do you need that kind of energy from someone to know like, yeah, this is the guy I want to work with?
Yeah, I mean, has to be organic, man. Fuck with you like that. Every situation is different, you know. We click like that, then the money thing that don't really get brung up until obviously business needs to be conducted. You have something looking to release it, you know, then that comes. But if I'm not artistically excited, or vibing with what I'm doing, then it's work. So it's work.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like the reality of things as well, I guess. It's like as it's your livelihood, and it's like you need to make money, but at the same time you might as well like enjoy yourself at the same time and work with the right people. So
Yeah,
there's two
because that's
sides
how
of it, I guess.
there was a time I was doing it and there was no money. You know what I mean? And it was just like that was it. Just fucking with who man were fucking, who was around, man, who was vibing and just connected in it and made music.
Yeah,
So
man.
that was the origins of it anyway, from the beginning, before Task Force. You know, going back like yeah, I remember man was like 14 and she used to go around my area, different areas, and she used to battle people. And
Because
that
didn't
was
they
how
discover you back then, like Chess and Farmer, like 14? Because
what
that's kind of like, you know, what you read online and that, like, oh yeah, like
yeah,
Ramson
I
BadBonez
wouldn't
discovered
say,
it.
I've never liked that word discovered, because whenever you look at it in history, it's
Yeah, I know.
it's,
Yeah, I
you
hear
know
what you're
what I mean?
saying,
It's
man. Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's already there, bud. We're
Bastardized.
talking about, but enough respect to Task Force, nonetheless.
When they met you,
So,
it's probably the best way.
when you met each other, what happened was, like, say I used to go around, used to battle a lot of people. A lot of them were like twice my age at the time, because people my age weren't rapping, and if they could, they couldn't really keep up. So after that, one guy we both knew area, he brought me up there, and man, rest was history, isn't it? Now I remember I was up there with my brethren I used to roll with, called Mayhem, and we were doing some back to back shit. And soon the man was standing on the balcony in it, just I didn't know them these times. The first time I met them, and they looked at me, looked at them, they were just like, "Come in." But the way they said it, I knew they did it. Like, yeah, and I first heard their shit, it was like, I didn't even know there was a scene, because we never grew up. We were into hip hop culture. We didn't know there was a scene in the UK, because the way we were growing up was different. Do you know what I mean? We would like, it's the simplest way to put it. We were exposed young to a lot of shit. So our mentality is different. Do you know what I mean? We were out there doing a lot of activity when we were young, even when we met them. And I think that was around the time, shortly after that, they started doing MFTC one, innit? Yeah, I remember that. I remember that shit. I was up there. But as a kid, I wasn't really making music on that. Just new man, innit? Around the way. But yeah, it was mad that I met them. It's through someone we both knew, you know, from the area. But just trying to think back, man. Bad memory of the days, man. So long ago.
Do you think that your like trajectory, it would have been the same, or it would have been affected by that kind of interaction with Task Force initially? Do you think like you would have still made music and you're on your own path? Do you think it kind of impacted what happened next?
I don't know, you know. Because in one way, I think, yeah, I probably would have still been doing it anyway. But then when I look at the way, you know, the way I was living and the path I was on, could have easily went wrong, man. Could have easily went really wrong. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Like anything can happen. Never really know what happened. All I know is what did, innit?
Yeah, man, it's relative.
So I only reckon I've ripped like that, man.
You just
No, I
had to
was
get
young.
out your head.
I couldn't sleep. Otherwise, yeah, if I didn't write, I wouldn't have been able to sleep. And yeah, it was a strange one, that one. I don't know why it was like that. Maybe it's because where my head was at the time, something. Yeah, I just writ it all in between the space of like 2 in the morning, 5, just up. Oh man, there wasn't really. It's not really that deep, the process, to be honest. Just had
Yeah,
the
man.
concept, and then it just ended up coming out in those hours. Because sometimes to be up at hours, I feel mad active. I don't know what it is. Creativity things it's just going. I get that a lot. You know? But
Yeah.
with this team, I ripped the whole fucking thing. Yeah, hypnotic. Shout out to DJ Think Food, man. You know, I forgot about that album. You know, now I'm starting to remember.
I can't. That's mad though. You like have like you forget about albums. It's just like what you forget probably more content than a lot of people even put out. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good way of putting it, man. Shit.
Yeah.
If that's the case, that's good for me, man.
Prolific, man. Prolific. I mean, as I said, even in like 2020, like just kept at it, kept releasing music, and I suppose like you just got to continue. Do you know what I mean? It's just like as Kashmir
Training.
said, you're never going to run out of things to rap about. So
I get what he's saying, but you know what? Yeah, everyone, everyone has their limit and their threshold, and and might not run out of things to say, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna want to say that.
no, that makes sense.
I get where he's coming from, man. That's big. Big
Yeah,
comment.
I guess it's just kind of more of a um, in terms of like in terms of like output. There's never any inclination that you're going to slow down. But I hear what you're saying, like timing and what you want to say, and just because you have the option to, should I or like do I want to? But I guess the main thing as well is that are you enjoying it? Like if you're not enjoying doing anything anymore, and it becomes like work, if that makes sense. But yeah, man, it's crazy. But no, much respect, Ramson BadBonez, man. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. But before we wrap up, obviously you've got kind of alluded to the project with My Stiggy, which is in its early stages. Is there anything else that you wanna plug or shout out or talk about?
Um, The Love Music EP's out. You know, that's out on RamsonBadBonez.com, newestdenbandcamp.com. Sorry, RamsonBadBonezBandcamp.com. It's on all the streaming things as well. Yeah, 2021 is gonna be a lot of shit coming, man. We've got a lot of shit coming.
I have no doubt, man. I have no doubt whatsoever. But it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I'm glad we finally made it happen. But I think once it's a bit easier to travel and stuff, just link up and record another one as well. That'd be good,
Yeah.
like in person. Well, I'll come to London probably. It's probably a bit easier, isn't it? But yeah, man, big up yourself. Thank you very much for taking the time to chat. Have you got much on for the rest of the week?
Nah, I'll probably just be chilling, man. Just trying to finish stuff off, innit?
Yeah, man, exactly. Good stuff. So Love Music EP out now. All platforms, go check that. You can find the podcast on all the usual kind of digital platforms, YouTube. Go give it a like and a follow, etc. Ramson BadBonez, man. Thank you so much again for taking the time for the chat, and speak soon, man. Stay safe and all that.
And you're welcome, bro. Take care, man.
Take care, man.